Welcome to Haunted Histories, where we explore the eerie and the unexplained. Today, we delve into the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, a historic site that has seen both human tragedy and supernatural activity. Built in the 19th century, this asylum housed thousands of patients, many of whom experienced unimaginable suffering. Join us as we uncover the history, hauntings, and present-day experiences of this chilling institution. Are you ready to walk through its haunted halls? The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum's construction began in 1858 and continued until 1881. The facility was designed by Richard Andrews following the Kirkbride Plan, which emphasized architectural beauty and comfort for therapeutic purposes. The building is a marvel of its time, constructed from hand-cut local sandstone, making it the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America. Its expansive wings, designed to maximize sunlight and fresh air, were intended to promote a healing environment. The asylum's design included wide corridors, large windows, and tall ceilings, all aimed at creating a sense of openness and calm. However, the construction was interrupted by the outbreak of the Civil War. Union troops seized the partially built structure and used it as a military post, delaying its completion. When the war ended, construction resumed, and the asylum finally opened its doors in 1864, though building continued for years afterward. The asylum was initially designed to accommodate 250 patients, each with their own room to ensure privacy and comfort. The building also included a chapel, a theater, a farm, and workshops to provide a self-sustaining community. The surrounding grounds were landscaped to include walking paths, gardens, and recreational areas for patients. Despite its serene design, the facility soon faced challenges that would mar its intended purpose. The asylum's elegant design and ambitious scale reflect the optimism and reformist spirit of 19th-century mental health care. The Kirkbride Plan, on which the asylum was based, was a progressive approach at the time, promoting humane treatment of the mentally ill. Over time, the idyllic vision of the asylum's creators would clash with the harsh realities of overcrowding and underfunding. By the time the construction was completed, societal changes and increased patient intake had already begun to strain the facility's resources. Despite these challenges, the architectural beauty of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains evident today. Its imposing structure stands as a testament to a bygone era of mental health care reform. The building's Gothic Revival style, with its turrets and sprawling wings, adds to its haunting and mysterious aura. Today, the asylum's architecture continues to draw visitors, offering a glimpse into the past and the lofty ideals that once guided its creation. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was designed to house 250 patients, but by the 1950s, it held over 2,400. This severe overcrowding led to deplorable living conditions for the patients. The influx of patients was partly due to the broad criteria for admission, which included not only the mentally ill but also people with conditions like epilepsy, alcoholism, and even those who were simply considered socially undesirable. As a result, the facility quickly became overwhelmed. Patients were crammed into small rooms, with many forced to share beds or sleep on the floor. The once spacious hallways and recreation areas became congested, and the sanitary conditions deteriorated rapidly. The asylum struggled to provide adequate care for the growing number of patients. Staff shortages meant that there were not enough doctors, nurses, or orderlies to attend to everyone's needs. Basic hygiene was neglected, leading to the spread of diseases and infections among the patient population. Malnutrition was also a significant issue, with the kitchen unable to prepare enough food for everyone. The quality of meals suffered, and many patients were underfed, further weakening their physical and mental health. The overcrowded conditions also led to increased violence and unrest within the asylum. Fights among patients were common, and the overwhelmed staff often resorted to harsh measures to maintain order. Restraints, isolation cells, and physical punishment were frequently used, adding to the already dire situation. The lack of proper medical care meant that many patients with treatable conditions saw their health worsen. Infections went untreated, injuries from fights were neglected, and those with severe mental illnesses received little to no therapeutic intervention. The combination of poor living conditions, inadequate medical care, and abuse led to a high mortality rate. Many patients died from neglect, malnutrition, untreated illnesses, or the brutal treatments they endured. The asylum cemetery grew steadily, with many graves marked only by numbers, their identities forgotten. The appalling conditions at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum became a symbol of the failures of the mental health care system of the time. The once hopeful vision of a therapeutic environment was overshadowed by the grim reality of suffering and neglect. Public awareness of the conditions inside the asylum grew, leading to calls for reform. Investigations and reports highlighted the need for changes in how the mentally ill were treated. Despite these efforts, significant improvements were slow to come, and the asylum continued to operate under these harsh conditions for decades. The legacy of overcrowding and poor conditions at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains a haunting reminder of the need for compassionate and effective mental health care. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is notorious for the inhumane treatments that patients endured within its walls. In the early to mid-20th century, many of the treatments used were experimental and brutal by today's standards. Lobotomies were a common procedure at the asylum. This involved severing connections in the brain's prefrontal cortex, often without proper anesthesia or sterilization. The surgery left many patients permanently disabled, with severe cognitive and personality changes. Dr. Walter Freeman, a well-known proponent of the lobotomy, performed numerous operations at the asylum, often in assembly line fashion. Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, or electroshock therapy, was another widely used treatment. Patients were subjected to high-voltage electrical shocks to induce seizures, believed to provide therapeutic benefits. However, these treatments were often administered without proper regulation, leading to severe physical and psychological trauma. Hydrotherapy, involving prolonged baths or showers in either very hot or very cold water, was also used as a form of treatment and punishment. Patients were sometimes left in these baths for hours, leading to shock, hypothermia, or burns. Isolation cells, often referred to as quiet rooms, were used to control and punish patients. These small, dark rooms had no windows and were designed to isolate patients from others. Confinement in these cells could last for days or even weeks, causing extreme distress and exacerbating mental health issues. Physical restraints, such as straitjackets and wrist and ankle cuffs, were commonly used to control patients deemed dangerous or unruly. These restraints often led to physical injuries, including bruises, cuts, and even broken bones. Patients who resisted treatment or were considered uncooperative faced physical abuse from staff members. Beatings, forced feedings, and other forms of violence were not uncommon. The use of experimental drugs and treatments also posed significant risks to patients. Many were subjected to untested medications with severe side effects, further damaging their health. The combination of these brutal treatments led to a high mortality rate among patients. Many died from complications of the treatments, untreated injuries, or the sheer trauma of their experiences. The inhumane treatment of patients at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum reflects the broader failings of mental health care during this period. The lack of understanding, compassion, and proper medical protocols led to widespread suffering and death. These practices have left a lasting stain on the history of the asylum, contributing to its haunted reputation. The stories of those who endured these treatments continue to be told, serving as a reminder of the need for humane and effective mental health care. Efforts to document and understand the history of the asylum's treatments have shed light on the darkest aspects of its past. Despite the passage of time, the memories of the inhumane treatments at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum continue to resonate, highlighting the importance of ongoing reform and advocacy in mental health care. Life for patients at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was harsh and monotonous. The daily routine was strictly regimented, with little room for personal freedom or autonomy. Patients were typically awakened early in the morning and immediately attended to their basic needs. Breakfast was served in large, communal dining halls, where the quality and quantity of food were often poor due to the asylum's chronic overcrowding and underfunding. After breakfast, patients were assigned various tasks or activities based on their physical and mental capabilities. Those deemed capable were put to work on the asylum's farm, in its workshops, or performing maintenance tasks around the facility. Work was considered therapeutic, but the tasks were often grueling and poorly supervised. Patients who were unable to work spent their days in the wards or common areas. These spaces were often crowded and noisy, providing little respite for those seeking peace or privacy. Recreational activities were limited, though some patients had access to books, board games, or musical instruments. Therapy sessions, when available, were conducted in group settings with little individualized attention. The therapies ranged from basic counseling to more invasive treatments like electroshock therapy or hydrotherapy. Meals punctuated the day, though they were often bland and unappetizing. Malnutrition was a common problem, with many patients not receiving the necessary nutrients to maintain their health. Evenings were similarly structured, with patients returning to their wards after dinner. Social interaction was limited, and many patients experienced profound loneliness and isolation. The constant surveillance by staff and the lack of personal space exacerbated feelings of helplessness and despair. Nights were particularly difficult for many patients. The wards were dimly lit, and the sounds of crying, shouting, or other disturbances were common. Sleep was often interrupted, contributing to the overall decline in mental and physical health. The routine varied little from day to day, creating a sense of endless monotony. This lack of stimulation and engagement further deteriorated the patient's mental health. The unchanging daily schedule, combined with the oppressive environment, left many feeling trapped and hopeless. For those who entered the asylum with treatable conditions, the lack of proper care and the harsh daily routine often led to a worsening of their mental state. Patients had minimal contact with the outside world. Visits from family members were rare, partly due to the stigma surrounding mental illness and partly because many patients were abandoned by their families. Mail and personal communication were strictly controlled, further isolating patients from their loved ones. Religious services were occasionally offered, but attendance was mandatory, stripping away personal choice and autonomy. These services were intended to provide comfort, but often fell short due to the impersonal and forced nature of the interactions. Hygiene was a constant issue. The overcrowded conditions meant that bathrooms and bathing facilities were inadequate, leading to poor personal cleanliness. Lice, bedbugs, and other infestations were common, adding to the overall misery of life in the asylum. The lack of adequate clothing and bedding further contributed to the discomfort. Patients often wore tattered clothing and slept on thin, dirty mattresses, with little protection against the cold or heat. This physical discomfort mirrored the emotional and psychological suffering experienced by the patients. Medical care was sporadic and often brutal. Regular checkups were rare, and when they did occur, they were usually perfunctory and lacking in compassion. The emphasis was on controlling behavior rather than addressing underlying health issues. The environment of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was one of neglect and routine suffering. The daily life of a patient was characterized by a lack of dignity, autonomy, and hope. This atmosphere contributed significantly to the asylum's haunted reputation, with the echoes of past suffering believed to linger in its halls. Despite the bleak conditions, there were rare moments of kindness and humanity. Some staff members, though constrained by the system, tried to offer compassion and care. These small acts of kindness were often the only glimmers of hope for the patients. The relentless routine and oppressive conditions left a lasting impact on those who survived their time in the asylum. Many were left with lasting physical and psychological scars, a testament to the harshness of their daily existence. The legacy of patient life at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is a stark reminder of the need for humane treatment and comprehensive care for those with mental illnesses. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum housed a diverse group of patients, each with their own unique and often tragic story. Among the most notable was a woman named Rebecca, who was admitted in the early 1900s. Rebecca was committed by her husband for hysteria, a common diagnosis for women during that time. Her condition, likely a combination of depression and anxiety, was not well understood or treated. Rebecca spent decades in the asylum, enduring various treatments and the harsh conditions. Her story is a poignant example of the systemic mistreatment of women in psychiatric care during that era. Another notable patient was Dean, a young man with epilepsy. During the time he was admitted, epilepsy was often misunderstood and treated as a mental illness. Dean was subjected to numerous experimental treatments, including electroshock therapy and hydrotherapy, none of which alleviated his condition. His time in the asylum was marked by isolation and misunderstanding, highlighting the inadequate medical knowledge and care of the period. There was also the story of Lily, a child born within the asylum. Her mother was a patient, and Lily grew up in the institution's confines. She was known to play in the halls and gardens, a rare bright spot in the otherwise bleak environment. Tragically, Lily died at a young age, her life cut short by the harsh conditions. Her story has become part of the lore surrounding the asylum, with many visitors reporting encounters with her ghost. Another patient, Joe, was known for his artistic talent. Despite his severe mental illness, Joe created detailed drawings and sculptures that were remarkable for their beauty and complexity. His artwork provided him with a brief respite from the chaos of asylum life. Today, some of his works are displayed in the asylum's museum, a testament to his enduring spirit and creativity. The story of Jacob, a veteran suffering from PTSD, also stands out. Admitted after World War II, Jacob's trauma was not well understood or treated. He was subjected to the same harsh treatments as other patients, which did little to alleviate his suffering. His condition deteriorated over time, a tragic example of the failure to provide appropriate care for veterans. Another patient, Mary, was committed for what was then termed melancholia, now recognized as severe depression. Mary's journals, discovered after her death, provide a heart-wrenching account of her despair and longing for freedom. Her writings have since been published, offering insight into the emotional turmoil experienced by many patients. One of the more mysterious figures was a man known only as the artist. Admitted without a name or background, he rarely spoke but created hauntingly beautiful murals on the asylum walls. His identity remains unknown, and his artwork, though faded, can still be seen today. The story of Anna, who developed a deep bond with a fellow patient named Charles, is a rare tale of love in the asylum. Despite the oppressive environment, their relationship provided mutual support and comfort. Both were eventually discharged, and their letters to each other, preserved by their families, tell a story of resilience and hope. Another tragic tale is that of Thomas, a young boy admitted due to behavioral issues. Misunderstood and mistreated, Thomas spent his formative years in the asylum, never receiving the care he needed. His story is a sobering reminder of the failures in treating children with mental health issues. The stories of these notable patients reflect the broader experiences of those who lived and died within the asylum's walls. Each tale adds to the rich and often heartbreaking history of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, painting a vivid picture of life in this infamous institution. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is renowned for its intense paranormal activity, drawing ghost hunters and curious visitors from around the world. The building's long history of suffering and death has led many to believe that it is a hotspot for supernatural occurrences. One of the most famous spirits is that of Lily, the young girl who lived and died in the asylum. Visitors often report seeing a little girl in a white dress playing with toys in the children's ward. Some have even heard her giggles and playful footsteps echoing through the halls. Another frequently reported apparition is that of Ruth, a nurse who worked at the asylum for many years. Ruth is often seen in her old-fashioned nurse's uniform, still tending to her former patients. Her presence is described as calming, and she is believed to be a protective spirit. The spirit of Dean, the young man with epilepsy, is also said to haunt the asylum. Visitors have reported feeling his presence in the rooms where he underwent treatments, often experiencing cold spots and sudden feelings of sadness. Jacob, the war veteran, is another commonly cited spirit. His apparition is often seen in the Civil War section of the asylum, sometimes dressed in a soldier's uniform. The sound of marching boots and distant gunshots have also been reported in this area. One of the more unsettling spirits is that of a man named Jim, who was known for his violent behavior. Jim's spirit is often described as aggressive, with reports of visitors being pushed or scratched by an unseen force. The asylum's basement is particularly notorious for its paranormal activity. Many believe that this area is haunted by darker, more malevolent entities. Visitors often report hearing growls, feeling an oppressive presence, and experiencing sudden drops in temperature. The isolation cells, where many patients endured extreme suffering, are also hotspots for paranormal activity. Disembodied voices, footsteps, and the sound of doors slamming shut have been frequently reported in these areas. The spirit of a man known as the artist, who painted murals on the asylum walls, is said to linger in the hallways. His ghost is often seen near his artworks, with some visitors reporting the feeling of being watched as they admire his murals. Paranormal investigators have captured numerous pieces of evidence supporting these claims of hauntings. EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, photographs of apparitions, and video footage of unexplained movements are just a few examples. Despite the terrifying nature of these encounters, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains a popular destination for those seeking to experience the supernatural firsthand. The stories of hauntings and paranormal activity add to the mystique of the asylum, drawing visitors who are both curious and brave. The building's haunted reputation is reinforced by the countless personal experiences and documented evidence of ghostly encounters. Whether or not one believes in ghosts, the tales of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum provide a compelling narrative that intertwines with its dark history. The paranormal activity at the asylum serves as a reminder of the many lives that pass through its doors and the lingering echoes of their experiences. Today, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum operates as a historical site and a popular destination for ghost tours and paranormal investigations. Efforts to preserve and restore the building have been ongoing, ensuring that its history is not forgotten. Daytime tours focus on the architectural and historical aspects of the asylum, offering visitors a chance to learn about its construction, operation, and the lives of its patients. These tours include access to various parts of the building, including the wards, treatment rooms, and even the basement. Nighttime tours cater to those interested in the paranormal. These tours allow visitors to explore the asylum after dark, armed with ghost hunting equipment and guided by experienced staff. Many report experiencing unexplained phenomena during these tours, adding to the site's haunted reputation. The asylum also offers overnight investigations for serious paranormal enthusiasts. These investigations provide extended access to the building, allowing for in-depth exploration and study of its haunted areas. Visitors are encouraged to bring their own equipment and document their findings. In addition to tours, the asylum hosts various events throughout the year. These include historical reenactments, special themed tours, and community events aimed at raising awareness and funds for the site's preservation. Restoration efforts have been crucial in maintaining the structural integrity of the building. Significant repairs and renovations have been undertaken to address decades of neglect and deterioration. These efforts have been funded through a combination of tour revenues, donations, and grants. The preservation of the asylum's original features, such as its hand-cut sandstone exterior and Gothic Revival architecture, has been a priority. The restoration work aims to maintain the building's historical authenticity while ensuring safety for visitors. Educational programs are also a key component of the asylum's modern-day operations. These programs aim to educate the public about the history of mental health care and the experiences of those who lived and worked in the asylum. Collaborations with local schools, universities, and historical societies help to disseminate this knowledge and promote ongoing research. The asylum's museum showcases artifacts, documents, and personal items from its operational years. Exhibits include medical equipment, patient records, and photographs, providing a comprehensive overview of the asylum's history. Community involvement has been instrumental in the restoration and preservation efforts. Local volunteers and historical groups contribute time and resources to ensure the site's upkeep and promotion. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum's transformation from a place of suffering to a site of historical and paranormal interest highlights the importance of preserving such locations. It stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the ongoing quest to understand and remember our past. The continued interest in the asylum, both for its history and its hauntings, ensures that it will remain a significant cultural and educational landmark. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. From its troubled past to its haunted present, This institution remains a powerful reminder of the human spirit's resilience and the mysteries that still linger. If you enjoyed this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe to Haunted Histories for more spine-chilling stories from the world's most haunted places. Until next time, stay curious and stay haunted.